A phrase is said to have echoed through the secluded corridors of Kensington Palace, making the atmosphere heavier than ever. According to a high-ranking source, it was just 4 words, but enough to raise a host of unanswered questions. Meanwhile, time is quietly ticking towards Prince Harry's 40th birthday. Across the ocean, in California, the Duke of Sussex is reportedly awaiting something significant, an inheritance related to his mother, once considered a long-term financial support for his life. But is everything really as certain as he thought? Are those millions of dollars truly untouchable? Or are there hidden aspects that the public has never known? Welcome back. In today's video, we'll be dissecting the controversial details and rarely mentioned aspects of a story the royal family has always kept silent about. For years, the public thought the conflict between brothers Prince William and Prince Harry revolved around unspoken apologies, tense interviews, or deep-seated emotional wounds. But according to sources close to the matter, the reality is far more complex. The core issue is money and inheritance. Prince William is reportedly furious and has deployed a secret strategy to protect his family's legacy. While Harry believes his inheritance from his mother, Princess Diana, will always be a stable source of support, William argues that these assets need to be carefully managed, not only to ensure fairness, but also to preserve the family's public standing and reputation. At the heart of the dispute, according to the sources, is a handwritten letter from Princess Diana in 1993. Initially, it was just a heartfelt message from a mother to her children, expressing her hope that her estate would be used to help them build independent lives, not to create conflict. But now, this letter is seen as a crucial legal tool, potentially impacting Harry's inheritance rights and how his estate is managed, making every family decision more sensitive than ever. While the world remains focused on the public debates in the press, the real story unfolds in the quiet rooms of the royal archives and private papers. This is where William's lawyers and legal advisors found crucial evidence, presenting Harry with unprecedented challenges, even though he has always believed his inheritance rights were secure. According to sources, William is now arguing that the spirit of the will and his mother's wishes have been misinterpreted. He asserted that the 1993 letter implied a moral obligation. The funds were to support the children's independence, not to finance disputes or personal conflicts. From this perspective, Harry was using his mother's estate for legal and media expenses, which William argued went against Diana's wishes. Behind the public conflict, the real story is a complex tapestry of finances, responsibilities, and family legacy. Every step, every legal decision carries profound consequences, shaping the relationship between the two brothers and impacting the future of the royal family. In today's video, we will explore little-known secrets, from letters and archived documents to the legal arguments being used as a subtle weapon in this dispute, and the reasons why the relationship between the two brothers has become more strained than ever. Prince William doesn't need money. As the Prince of Wales, he earns nearly $30 million a year in personal income, enough to live in every luxury a billionaire could dream of. So, this isn't about money. The real issue concerns principle, responsibility, and deep-seated concerns about legal matters, particularly those related to U.S. law. William worried that transferring his mother's estate to Harry in Montecito, including cash, rare jewelry, and archives, could lead to these assets being used in media or commercial projects, turning Princess Diana's sacred legacy into a tool in the Hollywood entertainment world. Therefore, with his 1993 letter, William sent a clear message to the person managing those assets. They needed to be protected and control frozen until things were resolved. But beyond the principled reasons, there's a specific and practical legal concern. William's lawyers warned that if the inheritance or priceless jewelry were transferred to a joint account or used for the renovation of Harry and Meghan's U.S. estate, they would become joint property under California law. In a worst-case scenario, if Harry and Meghan were to go through a divorce in the future, a U.S. court could divide the assets 50-50. For William, that prospect was a nightmare. Imagine the emeralds, the jewelry, or the funds intended for the Spencer lineage becoming part of a divorce settlement. This pressure is further amplified by the fact that Harry and Meghan are living in California, where joint property laws are very strict. William, acutely aware of these risks, has planned for every possibility, from protecting the inheritance to ensuring that these sacred assets are not misused. His concern wasn't just about protecting the money, but also about protecting the Spencer family's history and heritage from commercialization or use in circumstances Diana would never have desired. To achieve this goal, William needed a powerful tool, and the 1993 letter was that weapon. It wasn't just a message from his mother, but also proof of Diana's deepest wishes about how her children should be protected. And at the heart of this story, about 70 miles north of London, is Althorp Estate, the ancestral home of the Spencer family, the final resting place of Princess Diana, and now the silent battleground where the most crucial and delicate decisions about the royal legacy are made. In today's video, we'll explore why the 1993 letter is so important, how William used it to protect his mother's legacy, and the strategic legal maneuvers taking place behind the scenes. This is a story of power, responsibility, and legacy, where money is merely the tip of a much more complex picture. Standing there was a man, Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer. For decades, he had been the guardian of Princess Diana's memory, a central figure in the hearts of the family and the public. He was the one who stood on the pulpit at Westminster Abbey in 1997, vowing to protect his sister and ensure that William and Harry were not completely swallowed up by royal duties and traditions. But nearly 30 years later, that promise now seems to have become a challenge. Earl Spencer finds himself at the most awkward predicament in British aristocracy. He is not only the guardian of Diana's legacy and memory, but now also the arbiter in a complex battle between the future king and his exiled brother. According to sources, William is not merely seeking help from his uncle. He is demanding loyalty and cooperation to protect the family heritage. William's private secretary reportedly made quiet but firm contacts with the board members at Althorp. The message to Count Spencer was not an emotional plea, but a clear warning. Loyalty was expected, and every decision was strategic. William's argument, according to sources, was logical but also ruthless. If the Spencer family allowed money or assets to reach Harry by his 40th birthday, William would see it as indirectly funding actions he considered against the institution he was born to lead. Any flow of money from Althorp to Montecito was seen as funding ammunition in William's eyes. It was a subtle maneuver but also a powerful message, an ultimatum to those involved. Whose side are you on? The future king or the family's California assets? This was a decision that put Count Spencer in a dilemma. On one hand, he had sworn to protect Harry, ensuring he wouldn't be harmed. On the other hand, William was the Prince of Wales, wielding immense power and influence, and refusing to cooperate could have far-reaching consequences for the entire Spencer family. Sources indicate William urged the trustees to activate a special legal instrument called discretionary hold. Most aristocratic trusts are not simply bank accounts. They are managed by trustees who have the power to decide on payments. This means that, in exceptional circumstances, for example, suspicions that the beneficiary is at legal or financial risk or influenced by outside forces, suspending payments is perfectly legal. With this power in hand, William sent a strong message: protecting the legacy, safeguarding his mother's memory, and ensuring that all decisions were in accordance with Diana's wishes. In this conflict, Earl Spencer must weigh his loyalty to his family against his responsibility to administer the trusts. Each choice is strategically significant, and its consequences could last for decades. William's legal team is reportedly compiling a dossier to demonstrate that Harry's recent actions could pose a risk to the family's reputation and legacy. This dossier, according to sources, would provide the legal basis for Earl Spencer to say, "Not yet. We still have the vault. Lock it up for your own benefit." If Earl Spencer hesitates, William has a plan B, and this could be the most powerful, subtle, and effective strategy. If necessary, William could activate a legal mechanism called a protective trust, a tool used to manage and control a beneficiary's assets in exceptional circumstances. Under English trust law, when a beneficiary reaches 40 years of age, the funds in the trust are typically transferred directly into their personal account, and they have the right to spend, invest, or use them as they see fit. However, William argued that the current circumstances were exceptional and risky, so he proposed that the assets be frozen in a subsidiary based in the UK. In other words, although technically the money belonged to Harry, he would not be able to freely use the majority of the principal. Harry might be allowed to receive interest accrued on this money, enough to cover his children's education, but the majority of the capital would remain in a secure vault in London under the supervision of trustees loyal to the monarchy. This was a subtle move in terms of soft power. William protected his family's legacy, avoided being accused of greed, and simultaneously sent a clear message that he could not freely use the assets for personal projects or disputes. According to sources, William's reasoning was simple but stern. If the money were given directly to Harry, it risked being squandered within years by security fees, litigation, and media costs. Keeping the money in a protective trust would ensure that Diana's estate remained intact to support Archie and Lilibet as their children reached adulthood. Psychologically, this was a huge shock for Harry. He had left the UK to seek financial independence, to escape his family's control. But if the protective trust were activated, even though Harry was 40 years old, legally he would still have to seek permission from the trustees, submit supporting documents, and comply with numerous conditions to access his mother's assets. Every dollar released would come with conditions, and William's message was clear. You can live away from your family, but you cannot take your inheritance with you to serve any purpose contrary to your mother's wishes. This Plan B also limits the possibility of a media backlash. If Harry accuses William of misappropriating his money, William can simply respond that everything is safe in the trust and nothing has been taken. This strategy both protects the assets and puts Harry in a difficult legal and financial position, forcing him to think carefully before acting. Given that the Montecito assets are worth millions of dollars annually, freezing the trust also means Harry will no longer be able to spend the money freely as before, even though he lives halfway around the world. Sources indicate that when news of the potential freeze on the trust reached California, Prince Harry's mood quickly shifted from anger to genuine fear. He realized his brother was playing a long game, a calculated strategy prepared for lengthy legal proceedings that could drag on for decades if necessary. Harry understood he lacked the time and resources to fight William in a protracted legal battle that would reach the High Court in London. The financial safety net the Spencer family had created for Harry, something he considered his lifelong protection, was now being stretched to a dangerous limit. As the financial freeze was issued, panic began to spread in Montecito. The tension intensified when considering the fact that Harry and Meghan's life in California was incredibly expensive. Financial experts argued that these costs were exceeding their current profitability. For years, Harry had operated on the assumption that his mother's inheritance would always be a safe, untouchable source of support. It had been his golden umbrella protecting him from financial risk. But now, with William actively campaigning to freeze the trust, that umbrella seemed to have been cut off. When the news reached California, Harry was reportedly completely devastated, his anxiety quickly turning into rage. The situation was made even more tense by the significant changes in the couple's financial landscape over the past 12 months. A $20 million deal with Spotify had been canceled, leaving them publicly humiliated and facing high-level partners, while the Netflix deal remained in limbo, dependent on producing successful products. The era of easy money in Hollywood seemed over, but the expenses continued to mount. We're talking about a $14 million mortgage on Riven Rock Castle, living expenses, travel costs, legal fees for protracted litigation in London, along with a private public relations team and personal assistants. Not to mention security costs, which, according to reports, cost Harry a private security detail with the influence of a head of state, with an estimated bill of $2 to $3 million a year. Without a steady inheritance or a major new contract, Harry faces a serious cash shortage. Without this financial security, Harry is entirely dependent on his business and marketing skills in Hollywood, a volatile and unpredictable field. This pressure has created a deep sense of paranoia, making him feel besieged. He looks to William, believing these actions are not just for the protection of his family, but also a form of control, even a subtle form of revenge. The Duke's friends believe he worries that all power is being taken away from him, from military titles and ranks to ownership of his own home. And now, William's sole apparent goal seems to be protecting Diana's legacy, ensuring it remains with her children, rather than becoming a tool for Harry's financial gain or independence. Deep down, William knew he had it all: the Duchy of Cornwall, the palaces, the jewels of the crown. Harry, compared to him, seemed to have only a mortgage, a podcast, and a few media deals to envy his brother. But to William, Harry's inheritance of this money at this particular time seemed the height of cruelty, a test of the principles and legacy their family held. So Harry rebelled in the way he knew how. As the sun set over Montecito, he was supposedly working frantically on the phone, contacting family members, from aunts like Sarah McCorradale, Countess Jane Fellows, to cousins, seeking out sympathetic people who still remembered Diana and wished for her son's freedom. He fought to keep his projects, media deals, and business opportunities running. Harry understood a terrifying truth. If the vault were closed, his American dream could turn into a financial nightmare. If Spencer's safety net were removed, he and Meghan would have to commercialize everything they owned, write new books, sell secrets, and rebuild their image from scratch. William's freezing of assets could corner them with no way out, leaving them with no choice but to sell everything. A fog descended upon Althorpe Estate, and it became painfully clear. This was no longer a mere family conflict, but a tragedy of inheritance, a battle for Spencer Vault. This battle taught us a cruel but necessary lesson. Freedom always comes with responsibility. You can't tear down old bridges and expect everything to remain peaceful. Harry had preached the gospel of freedom. Freedom from institutions, freedom from the press, freedom from royal rules. But this freedom always came with a price. According to experts and commentator George Will, William is not acting out of malice or greed. He is practicing a form of strict love, drawing a clear line. The memory of their mother is not a commodity to be bought and sold for fame or personal gain. William realizes that if he doesn't stop the flow of wealth, the Spencer family history will become a detail in the next season of a reality TV show, and he will inadvertently become the villain in Harry's story. Now the decision rests with public opinion. Does Prince William have the right to prevent his brother's inheritance to protect the family honor? Or is he cruelly depriving Harry of his inheritance? You can join this discussion. Type Team William if you think the treasury should remain intact, or Team Harry if you believe the inheritance should still belong to him. Whatever the outcome, the story of inheritance and royal legacy is far from over. If you found this analysis interesting, please hit the like button so we can continue bringing you fascinating royal stories, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. The royal checkbook may be locked, but the drama isn't over yet. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next videos. Your support helps us bring you even more engaging content.